Good evening and welcome to another edition of PharSide Pholios. I am your host, Monica Leek, and we are here during March Madness celebrating some amazing authors and books as a part of National Reading Month and Women's History Month. So tonight's guest with us is none other than Cassie Greutman. She is a small town Ohio girl who has always loved stories in any form, and you can usually find her typing away at her computer or playing out in the barn with her ponies. Welcome to the far side, Cassie Greutman.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Well, we are diving in to your book one of is it Regan? Regan, Penchant for Trouble, book one, and it's a part of a series.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm working on book 4 right now. It should be out as soon as possible.
Wow. Okay, so if you haven't, we're diving into book 1. So this gives you an opportunity for those who are watching live and those who will catch the replay to get caught up before book 4 of the series drops. So in chapter 1, because I've been reading since I got my copy, it said, something tickled my face. I swatted at it, or at least I tried. Had my arm even moved, there again, whatever you are, go away. I just want to sleep. Now, how do you feel like this opening line sets the stage for like the action that follows in that story?
Yes, so I wanted to start with a moment of intrigue and set the tone of the story that this is going to be, a whole new world for people. So I set out to make it obvious that this is going to be an adventure story, and I hope that the beginning conveyed that well.
And so, and it did. It especially did for me from the setting, and you kind of feel the character getting their bearings, so to speak, in those initial moments. We see Trish struggle at the beginning of the story is like coming of age and trying to remember what happened. So you introduce this word fae, and what is that meaning of that word for Trish and kind of coming of age, being a teenager?
Yeah, so the Fae are actually an ancient story that I changed and moved around to fit my story.
Okay.
They're a race from another world that visit Earth through portals. So in my story, they've kind of colonized Earth a bit, and so there are different Fae living out throughout the world. Many of them have what we would consider superpowers because it's normal for them in their world. And poor Trish, it's hard enough being a teenager, even if you fit in, but she's different than everyone else. And I feel like we can all kind of connect with that. I mean, we're not Fae, but we're all different in some way and feel out of place. So it is a coming of age story. It's her learning about herself and learning how to be human, even though she's Fae.
So how does her role or that play out in the rest of the story? And does she follow, will Trish appear again in the series?
Yes, so the Fae are a large part of the story, of the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
The Fae were known for being very manipulative, and so she's forced to help the Fairy Council capture an escaped fugitive, or she'll lose the only thing she really cares about, and those are her foster parents. I originally started the book because my parents were foster parents, and they were wonderful people, and they took really great care of their kids. And so I got so tired of all of these stories of foster parents are terrible people, So I decided to try something different. And so the Fae are very important in the story, but the human side is also very important too. And Trisha and her foster parents are the main characters of the entire series. So,
and so you talk about fostering. So what was the fine line, some of the fine lines you saw, maybe in the characters of the parents of Trish that maybe you even experienced or saw with, your parents as foster parents, or some of the challenge that they may have faced similar to the storyline?
Yes, so unconditional love is a major part of it. Kids that have been in these situations don't feel like they are loved. They don't feel like they are lovable. So it takes quite a while to convince them that they were worth something a lot of times. And that's something that you don't know until you've been in the situation. People always think, oh, the kids are going to move in, they're going to feel grateful, they'll be part of the family. And that doesn't happen quickly at all. That takes quite a bit of effort to get to that point. So that's something that I saw through my life that I incorporated in the story.
Awesome, because I think a lot of times we don't get to hear or see those stories play out, and so to have, this new story that incorporates, just a relevant issue of the times, with, fostering and coming of age, I think will be a big draw for your readers. And so I hope my readers who are out there and watching the replay, who catch the replay, will pick that and share this out with their friends and colleagues, because this is a really great story. Right from the beginning, you introduced this kind of challenge of memory and kind of coming into your own with who you are, with that coming of age, having a relationship with, parents, parental relationship. Then you incorporate a boyfriend. What are some of the different responses to transition and decision making that the readers are going to see through the characters?
So I mentioned already how a lot of foster kids don't feel like they're lovable.
Mm-hmm.
And, Trish in the story was abandoned by her mom, and she never met her dad. So she can't understand unconditional love. All of her decisions are based on her beginning, her life, what she knows. And so as she grows through the story, she starts to see Dan and Nina, her foster parents, as people. She starts to see them as people who care about her, and she has to learn about being loved. Being loved doesn't actually come naturally for a lot of people. So some people have to learn how to be loved. And so she progresses through the story and learns that there's a lot of bad in life, but there's a lot of good in life too. And so now she's fighting for the life that she's begun to love, fighting to stay with the parents that she's just getting to know. And so the story kind of changes how she looks at the world.
So what genre would you characterize this book,
Yeah, so it actually fits in a lot of little sub-niche genres. I would say the major umbrella would be like YA urban fantasy.
Okay.
But, it can go in coming of age stories or, foster family stories. It fits in a lot of different places. Magical realism, contemporary fantasy. So, yeah, just the broad umbrella would be YA urban fantasy.
So what brought you to, entering the realm of YA versus maybe some, adult fiction and, the other genres, like whether mystery, true crime, or chick lit or anything like that? So what drew you into urban fantasy?
Dragons. I've always been a fantasy person all my life. It started with horses and an obsession with horses. And so, a lot of knights and that type of thing, like historical type books, kind of merged into fantasy type series, which, got me on dragons and then just into fantasy in general. So I've always been obsessed with fantasy. And when I decided to start writing, down the stories that I had made up in my head, it just made sense that I follow along with what I love to read.
Okay, so given that you have this love for dragons, okay, can you tell us what maybe your favorite um, read was with the dragon in it?
So my favorite series would be the Green Rider series by Kristen Brenton. And it starts out just about the messenger people and their horses, but spoilers, but as we get into the later books, dragons get involved, so it gets bigger and better as it goes along.
All right, so I hope readers hear that. If you love dragons, you may want to check out this recommended read from our author. Um, you introduce not only the characters of Trisha, but Nina and Dan are foster parents, and how does her like evolution into coming into her own, um, as being different, as being this in this kind of mythical role or magical role. How does her evolution impact her relationship with her foster parents?
So she starts out very mistrustful. I mean, she hasn't had anyone that she could count on in her life. So she's very suspicious of Dan and Nina and why they would want to take her in, because she's never had someone just step up and do something good for her for no reason. So she's very suspicious that something's going on that she doesn't understand. Um, but as she gets to know them better and she starts to love them, she can't help it, because, who doesn't want people to love? Who doesn't want people to love them back? Um, as she gets to know them, she just starts seeing them as actual people instead of just the foster parents. And so she evolves through the series basically because of their love, and then the love that she gives back to them.
What are some takeaways that you hope readers, will think about or connect with from the story? Maybe one or two things that you hope readers will think about or take away.
Yeah, I think that an important message is that family is not necessarily born into. Family are the people that you surround yourself with. And what you see on the surface of a person may not actually be who they are inside because of things that have happened to them. They may portray themselves very differently from what they actually are. So I that ties into the family thing also, because as you get to know people, you see who they truly are, and that you can make your family who you want it to be if you don't have what you need.
So this book is book 1 in the Penchant for Trouble series. So what made the story evolve from maybe a singular concept to a decision that, oh yeah, this is going to be a series? What brought you to that point?
So I actually did start it out as a single book, but as I was handing it on to beta readers and then on to my family, I had people asking, well, what happens next? You can't just end here. So the first book has a very closed ending because it was intended to be a single title. But as I got thinking about it, I started to wonder, where does Trish go from here? And what happens with this character or that character? And so as I figured it out and thought about it, I decided, well, we had to continue.
Wow. So share with our audience a little bit about your writing journey and in the publishing process. Is there anything that you would do differently?
Yeah, so it's been quite the learning curve. Not just everybody knows that writing a big book is difficult. So it's not just that, but then you have the editing, and then you have, sending it out to people and finding the right people to read it so that they don't try to change what your vision is, and they just help improve your vision. So all of that has been really interesting. And I think if I were to do anything differently, I probably would have written books 1 through 3 before publishing book 1. Just because I get readers sending me messages, when's the next book coming out? I can't wait for the next book. And it's so touching that people want to read them so much. But I actually have a full-time job and I have a large family. And so I write as much as I can, early mornings, late nights, but some days I just feel like I'm disappointing people, and so I had to actually just tell myself, it happens when it happens. So nobody's pushing me, but everybody's excited, and that makes me excited and makes me want to continue on too.
So with your book 4 coming out, what are some other, stories that you have on the horizon? Is there anything, different themes? Are there different themes or topics that you're interested in exploring through your writing?
I find the topic of family to be the most close to my heart. My family is actually, I mentioned my parents were foster parents. Well, they did end up adopting some of my siblings. So we actually are several families in one. And speaking of a learning curve, that's quite the learning curve when you throw everybody together like that. And so, like I said, the topic of family is the biggest one that I enjoy writing about. And I enjoy writing about just how you can see someone and think they're a certain way, but you truly need to get to know them to see if you connect with them, if you want to be friends with them. I myself am very much an introvert, and so I feel like the people that I have become friends with, I become friends with just because we're together a lot. And so they actually get to know me, and then we become friends. So I really like to call on people to branch out a little, talk to people that you don't expect that you'll connect with, because underneath you're going to have something that you can connect about. You're going to become a better person by getting to know more people.
And so with that, what is something that you've learned about yourself, through this process of writing and publishing? You've got this series of, this particular series, Penchant for Trouble, and then you have other work published. So what have you learned about yourself through this writing journey?
I'm not quite as patient as I thought I was. So writing a novel is extremely time consuming. No matter how much you enjoy it, it's still quite a slog. I mean, you're looking at 100 or more hours of your time put into it if you want a good story. And I'm the type of person that I just start something, I fixate on it, I have to get it finished. Well, that doesn't work well when when you're staring down 80,000 words or 100,000 words to make an actual book. And so I had to teach myself that it will be fine. Just do it as you can, get it done, and then do your best and move on. So yes, it not only a learning curve in the whole book thing, but a learning curve about myself as well.
So for those who aspire to write, so PharSide Pholios is actually a podcast out of a book club.
Okay.
So we have a lot of members who aspire to write, and then those who, watch us online or join us online, who participate in writing groups and their writing communities, and all those kinds of things that are available now. What are some words of wisdom that you can give to aspiring writers, those golden nuggets that could help us in this writing process, and journey, whether they're starting or well into it, or if they're just getting at the beginning of their writing journey?
So it sounds like you have part of it down already, and that's find your tribe. You need to find a group of people who can help you improve and can push you to keep going, and that you can do the same for them. Writing, as they say, is a very lonely process. I mean, you're sitting in front of your computer for 100 or more hours just typing away in your own head. So to find other people that are in the same stage of life as you, the same goals that you have, is very helpful. And also just be persistent. It's extremely difficult to write a book, no matter what anybody says. If you're going to do well, it's going to be a lot of work. So just keep at it. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be a master of anything. So that's a lot of spare manuscripts you're going to have sitting on your laptop. I've wrote many books that are just sitting here, and maybe one day I'll go back and go through them and make them not quite so rough so people actually want to read them. So you can go to classes, you can go to school, you can read books, all of those things, but really you're going to figure out your process as you're writing. So just keep at it and you'll eventually get there. I truly believe anybody can write a book. I don't think a lot of people are crazy enough to try, but I think anyone can write a book. And so it just takes a lot of work.
So we definitely appreciate your work with this first book in the series. What are there any other genres that you're looking to explore, since you've, kind of found this your niche, a little niche in YA and in urban fantasy? Are there any other genres or subgenres that you'd be interested in taking a dive into?
I always have a lot of things floating around in my head. So I am actually working on a Portal series also. And then I have a story in an anthology that's coming out with several different authors that is just pure fantasy, an epic fantasy story. But the thing is, they're all going to be interconnected. So all of the characters are going to be in Penchant for Trouble, or Penchant for Trouble will be, the characters from that will be in the other series. So I'm trying to make just an entire world, even from different types of books. And I have considered writing in like with a pen name, so nobody can get too confused about my works being completely different. Some like contemporary stories about families also. So I might touch on that someday in the future once I get through some of my other stuff.
Well, it looks like you have a wide range of possibilities. And so we definitely wish you continued success with the series Penchant for Trouble, but also for what you have coming down the line with the anthology and the other stories that are maybe sitting on, your drive, your current drive when it comes to your writing. What are some things you have done, as a writer to, keep yourself motivated, given the amount of writing that you've done and the works that you've had published, and you spoke to the thousands of hours that it amounts to, and to getting that one book from off the computer into publication. So what are some things that keep you motivated?
I'm a big list person. I need to be able to check things off my list. So every day I start out creating a list of what I think I can feasibly get done that day. And then I remove one thing because I tend to be an overachiever. And after that, I try to go through my list, and I do have a really nice Excel spreadsheet that I bought from another author that you put in how many words you wrote that day, and it helps you get to a goal by the end of the year. So it's almost like, have you heard of NaNoWriMo? National Novel Writing Month. So it's almost like that, except for you spread it out over the entire year, and you get to pick the goal of what you think you're going to be able to write in that year. This year I'm aiming for 250,000 words, so we'll see. But I did make it last year, so unless something crazy happens this year, hopefully. But yeah, so that, to me, watching those words stack up, I have to have something to keep me going, or I think, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. I got a lot to do today. I'll get to it tomorrow. And too many I'll get to it tomorrows means you get nothing done. So I have to have something to check off and prove to myself that I am taking steps towards my goal. Because again, 80,000, 100,000 words of a novel, that takes a long time. That's a big effort. And if you don't take it in bite-sized chunks, then you'll procrastinate until it never happens. At least I would.
Well, to our replay viewers and those who are watching us live, welcome to the PharSide Coed Book Club, our podcast called PharSide Pholios, where we've been highlighting authors and their amazing work. And with us this evening is Cassie Greutman, who has done this wonderful series, Penchant for Trouble. And we're talking about book 1, which is Regan. And you definitely want to dive into this urban fantasy. And don't forget that YA is for everybody. Don't limit it to just thinking it's just for teenagers, going through changes. It's YA is for everybody. So pick up this particular book, read it. And once you read it, you definitely want to finish the remainder in this series, because the story will hook you in, just like it did for me. And so definitely pick this book up. And we want to thank our wonderful author, Miss Cassie Greutman, for taking the time out of her busy schedule and the time that she spends in this writing process, writing and publishing, and time from family and all those kinds of things. So we're so thankful that you spent this time with us this evening. And again, wish you so much success for not just this series, Penchant for Trouble, but all of the series and books and screenplays and all of the things that may follow with your writing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a very nice chat.
Well, we want to tell our live and those who will catch us by replay, don't forget to share this out, because we are interviewing authors from across all genres. Like, I think we had several from sci-fi, so you want to roll back and catch the replays of our sci-fi series of interviews. We've hit sci-fi, we've hit children's books, we've done anthologies, we've done devotionals and inspiration, and so we go across the genres. So we look forward to continuing this journey with amazing authors, amazing stories. So join us for the rest of March Madness. Who knows what genre we'll be talking about next month. So we thank our author, Cassie Greutman, for spending time with us this evening. And we want to tell you, our viewers, many blessings to you. Share this out. Make sure you're staying tuned to the PharSide Coed Book Club Facebook page for more author interviews and posts as we celebrate March Madness in the month of January with some great books. National Reading Month. Yes, it is. So go to your library, check out your indie bookstores, and read. Even Audible works as well. eBooks works as well. National Reading Month. Get it in. This is March Madness. So until next time, many roots, many voices are a part of the infinite story. So plant your seed. Have a great evening.